Welcome aboard the Pete Sousa Show. It is a Thursday afternoon, a football Thursday. Let me pop my chair up a little bit here. Boom. The chair's popped up. And look, we want to start today talking about the NFL. And it is a huge night if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I know I have a Raiders sweatshirt on right now. That's because the Raiders personify the NFL. But the game tonight that everybody's going to be watching. I am actually going to be on a plane going to Colorado for a football game on Friday. But I will be dialed in watching the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Washington Commanders. This has got to be the best. I don't remember a better Thursday night football game presented for us in a very long time. Out of the gate. Oh, by the way, thank you to Slovakics. Thank you to Crawford Austin Properties, and thank you to all of our sponsors, and especially Daniel Stark, D1, and of course, First National Bank of Central Texas. All right, we're going to give Matt Davis a call here in a second. Matt is boots on the ground, of course, my former Richmond football teammate. He is a prognosticator by night, a real estate agent by day. The guy is... I guess if he was a little more big time, he wouldn't have to tell me to hang on. He has to open a door for a showing. But maybe that's how real estate agents do it nowadays. I don't know. All I know is the guy had the softest hands of any tight end in college football in the mid to late 90s. That's not a lie. Matt Davis was recruited by everyone in America. Somehow we got him at Richmond. Actually, I know why, because he bungled his own recruiting process. What are you going to do? He tried to keep John Cooper in Ohio State waiting. John Cooper said, hey, buddy, scholarship's gone. We got to move on. We got Mike Vrabel over here ready to play linebacker. We're going to be okay. How about Eddie George, Matt? Think we can live without him? No. So we got to keep these scholarships in-house. All right. Let's see what Matt says here. Scotty, can you shut the door? I opened it because it gets so hot in here. All right, let's try Matt, see if he's showing a house or not yet. Back in the day when Matt and I were in school together, he would say, the former Redskins. There he is, Matt Davis. Now, the Commanders used to be the Redskins, and when Matt in college was going to bet on the Redskins, he would say he was hitting the skins, baby. So, Matt, are you on? By the way, great job with the graphics, Scotty. Scotty's got your graphic up. We're rocking and rolling. All right, Matt. Tonight's game. I know you're in the middle of showing a house, and if you lose this bet, you're going to be showing houses till you're 90 years old. We don't want that. So, what's the story? Who do we like tonight?
I like the Redskins plus the points. 3.5 is what I'm looking at now. I just think it's a good spot for them. I think that they're ready to take control of the NFC East. It's their time, and I think they're going to get up for this one. I think they got a little bit of a wake-up call last week against the Steelers. When I say wake-up call, they knew what top competition was, and they competed, but they have to clean some things up. And I think this is the week they clean up the details and do the little things right. So I like them. I know you're a big Philly fan, but I think it's time for the Commanders to show who's boss in the NFC East.
All right, 2 more questions for you because I know you got to go. Where can the Eagles exploit the Commanders? Like, what have you seen from them where they've been vulnerable this year?
Well, I love to see this guy Marcus Lattimore in the lineup, but he's still got that hamstring. So I think we're a little bit susceptible to the pass. The DBs have been not playing as well late in the games. Against the Steelers, I thought we gave up some passes and made some mistakes. I love our linebackers. I think our defense is playing very, very well. We got a few injuries on the offensive line, so that could be a factor. But I think, running the ball, obviously Saquon Barkley would be the best running back they'll see to date and by far. So I think stopping the run is going to be a big deal for the Redskins or the Commanders, and really defending the pass against some of these elite wide receivers, especially A.J. Brown. I think that's where we're going to need to, really focus on. I think that offensively, we're going to be able to move the ball. We got Brian Robinson back, and I think, Jaden Daniels seems to be one of those type of players that gets up for big time games. And we're going to see what he has today, really probably against the best team he's seen. I put him right in that category with the Steelers. So see how he performs, but I think we'll put up the points. I think we'll move the ball offensively. I think defensively is where I'm worried. that we show up and we have to stop Saquon Barkley, or that opens up everything for Hurts in the Philly offense.
And I think we're going to learn a lot about Jaden Daniels tonight, right? This has got to be probably the most toxic environment as an opposing quarterback he's going to enter so far this year.
Absolutely. You get the benefit of playing a tough Steelers team at home. And let's be honest, he was okay. I mean, he had a lot of drop passes. There were a lot of things that happened in that game that could have gone better for him, but he just played okay. He didn't play, I think it was 9 out of the first 10 weeks as the offensive rookie of the year and the rookie of the week in the NFL. He didn't give that kind of performance last week against a really decent TJ Watt-led Steelers defense. And this week he's going to get much the same. And like you said, a hostile environment with Philly fans. They boo Santa Claus. You know what I mean? It's not anybody's favorite place to go and play. And yeah, he's gonna really have to step up. But he just seems like that type of player to me, that the bigger the stage, the bigger the performance. And I think we're going to see, something special tonight out of him. The big, when we say special, we say, you maybe run for 50 to 75 yards, throw for over 200 and not have any turnovers, and that's the key to the offense there, is for him to protect the ball and not have any turnovers. And I think if we do that, we have a really legitimate shot of competing with the Eagles. And again, I've been a fan for forever, and the last 20 years plus, it's just been tough. I'd like to see them win a game they're not supposed to win, take control of the NFC East, and really solidify themselves in the playoffs.
One thing I'll mention, you bring up a great point with Daniels. He's playing his 11th game, right? I think tonight, and he's got just 2 interceptions. So that's a huge thing. One other note for you, I had Sidney Fugar up here last week, the Baylor offensive lineman from Waldorf, Maryland.
Yeah, so I saw it when we did the game.
Yeah, I was telling him all about you. I said, you got to look this guy up. He was the best tight end in the history of Waldorf. I told him that. All right, so here's a question for you. November 30th, ESPN has called us again. I'm going to be calling a game. We're not sure where. Is my spotter going to be able to make the game?
I told you, I have a family wedding in like the Salisbury area of Maryland, and
I think that takes precedence. I think that takes precedence.
29th. We get a 29th Friday game, and I'm gold. But we'll see what we get. I mean, if we're calling Ole Miss, Mississippi State, I'm going to be there. But
rest assured, we're not going to have that problem.
I thought so, but no, we'll make it happen. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen after Thanksgiving, that we were going to get a game. But we'll make something happen for sure.
All right, Matty D, get back to work. We appreciate the time, brother.
Literally showing a house right now. Literally showing a house.
Bye.
Talk to you, buddy. Bye.
Well, there you go. Matt Davis, Johnny on the spot, stepping up. Now, Matt Scotty was the guy. He was when we were in college. He's got the it's in his bones. The gambling. He couldn't stay away. Now, he didn't bet on any of the games he played in.
That's good.
Yeah,
generally advisable. Yeah,
especially back then. It's different. That's a great example, though, guys. And we could go down this rabbit hole. But guys from the University of Richmond or schools like that, small Division I schools that are like opening the season with like Virginia and Wake Forest, like those are bigger games for them that get big numbers. Like, I still think those guys are vulnerable now. In environments like that, young athletes, totally. And Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, will try to tell you that they're not, but they or he tries to downplay it, and says that everybody's doing it, or I forget exactly the vernacular he used when he spoke to us at ESPN. I do forget. I don't want to misquote him, but I think those prop bets for young guys are a danger zone, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. A danger zone. Also, Baylor coming up. We're going to talk to Blake Blackmar in a little bit.
Blake Blackmar, yes, sir.
Yeah, Blake Blackmar. My bad. And what was he part of? The Meat.
Cam mentioned earlier, he's part of the Baylor Meat Mafia.
I cannot wait to find out what the Meat Mafia is all about.
I'll let him tell you then.
I'm looking forward to it. So we got Blake coming up in 10 minutes.
Everybody finds a great hobby post-football career.
Yeah.
And Blake has found his calling. I'll just put it that way. You can ask him about it.
And so who was the head coach when Blake was there? He did play for Matt Rule. He played 2 years for
So
Rule.
Blake went through it, man. So Blake came in under Bryles.
Yeah.
Redshirted under Bryles. I believe played 1 season as a freshman under Bryles. Then
Was Jim Grobe.
went through the transition with Jim Grobe, which was a full season, and then played the first 2 years under.
So he did get to that bowl game.
He did, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
The Texas Bowl where they beat Vanderbilt.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a redshirt freshman. He did not play in the 2014 Big 12 championship. So he had that high, even though he wasn't on the field yet.
Yeah,
and then,
sure.
Went through the whole spiral downward transition, the 1-win season in 2017.
And stayed.
Oh yeah. And was a starter, I believe, at least 3 years, if not 4, after he redshirted. I mean, he was a long-term player.
Was he on the Bear With Me pod?
He did come on Please Bear With Me a couple times.
Okay.
He did, yeah.
Bear With Me was a big deal.
I don't know about a big
I
deal,
think it was a
but
big deal.
We had a good time. I think we might bring it back next fall.
I've done some research on Bear With Me because it was gone. It was gone before. I guess 2023 was your last.
Well, so I created it and I hosted it for 4 years through the 2021 season.
Yeah.
And then I actually handed it to another guy who created it for 2 more years. And then at the beginning of, so I guess maybe I went through the 2020 season. I don't remember. And then I handed it to another guy who hosted it for 2 years, and then we both dropped it.
Yeah.
And we're
gonna bring it back.
We might bring it back.
It's coming back.
We might.
All right. Don't start any rumors yet, guys, but it's coming back. Wink, wink. Another wink, wink. So Baylor, West Virginia, coming up this weekend in Morgantown. Obviously, we'll talk to Mr. Blackmar a little bit about that and the environment that the Bears are headed into. West Virginia, I have on pretty good authority that Garrett Green is going to play. And he's been practicing a lot, and I think he will play. We'll have to see exactly what happens. That's not let's not take it to the bank lock, but that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that they're leaning towards Garrett Green playing, which to what Scotty said yesterday or 2 days ago, that could be a tough deal for Baylor because Garrett Green is a dual threat guy. And this game now is starting to look tougher and tougher to Baylor, especially if Garrett Green is healthy. West Virginia's defense has been solid this year, and I feel almost as though this team is rallying around Neil Brown. Neil Brown slowly becoming the Wayne Fonts of the present-day Big 12. And if you remember, Wayne Fonts was the head coach of the Lions. Every time it seemed like Fonts was going to get fired, the Lions would go on a run and make the playoffs. And don't look now, but I'm going to tell you something that'll blow your mind. And I'm sure there's whispers of this in Morgantown. There is an outside shot. Now, I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, I looked at all the scenarios yesterday, right? West Virginia could not only make the Big 12 title game, but if they were to win the Big 12 title game, Gesundheit, to my man Cam over there on the other side of the room, and if things were to change, right, if they were to win the big title game, first of all, they have to get there. But if they get there, they'll go on a roll that could have them ranked in the top 20. Now, if they get there and they're the highest ranked of, like, as far as the 4 of the conference winners, the championship winners of the conference, they could actually get to the playoff. Like, it's a possibility. And so that makes things a little scarier for Baylor because the reality is in the West Virginia locker room and around the team, they're talking about getting to the Big 12 title game. They can do it. And the way that the tiebreakers, it is so super weird. And although I am all over the Big 12, I am not smart enough to sit here and explain them to you, but they favor West Virginia. I was listening to it yesterday on Sirius Radio on the college football show. The guys were talking about that they favor West Virginia and they're super clunky. So there's just a lot going on here. I said yesterday that if the game was at nighttime, I would take West Virginia, but it's in the afternoon, and I wanted to take Baylor. And remember now, we're talking about the Northeast and after daylight saving. I mean, it gets dark early. So Hopefully it won't get dark early for Baylor. But if you can't tell, your man over here is waffling just a little bit. Let's look at this. I have not looked quite yet at what a first segment, by the way. This is I'm pretty excited about this. Let's see. Let me get the schedule here. I'm sorry, guys. Schedule for this week, and then I'll get it right to you. Here is the Big 12. We're talking about, as we say in Philadelphia, Saturday. And here it is. Baylor, West Virginia. 6 o'clock kickoff. Wait a minute. 6 o'clock. Oh, no. This is Arizona State. I was about to say. Baylor's a 2.5-point favorite. Whew. Well, that's good news if you're a Baylor fan, because those people know more than I do. I don't care what. Actually, maybe I do. Maybe I know more than them right now. I got the inside here. What am I talking about? If the Pete Sousa show is picking up the steam like you and the numbers say, maybe this line will move, because I'm telling you, I believe that Garrett Green is going to play. And I'm also telling you that West Virginia has a lot to play for, and they're rallying around Neil Brown. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted, as they say. I'm still going to be pulling for the Bears, but Baylor is favored by 2.5 points. 58.5 is the over-under. Cam Stewart of Locked On Baylor will be joining us in the third segment as talk around this game heats up. And Cam did say over the course of Baylor's winning streak that they have put together, the defense has not been out of control. Good, which is what you look for out of Dave Aranda. Now, maybe that's a great sign. Maybe the offense has put up big numbers, and you give Dave. By the way, Dave Aranda, right? 2 weeks to prepare for this West Virginia offense. Problem is he doesn't know who's playing quarterback, but we do, right? All right, Blake Blackmar coming up on the other side of the break. Cannot wait to hear his take on all things Baylor football, and we're going to find out where the beef is, and I think it is with Blake. We'll be right back.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference, because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics, are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win, and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserving, man.
Which seems like it fit. Sports.
The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, brought to you by Slovacics. So if we're talking about Slovacics and meat, we're going to talk about one of the all-time Where's the Beef dudes right here, Blake Blackmar, a 5-year player at Baylor. And you saw it all. You saw Art Briles, you saw Jim Grobe, you saw Matt Rule, you saw a resurrection, finishing your career with a bowl win. Thank you very much, by the way, for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a big week for Baylor football. I feel like there's as much excitement around this program as there's been in a couple years, and no better place to have them throw water on the excitement than Morgantown, West Virginia, which you made a trip there. I remember, Blake. You don't know anything about me, but when I moved to Waco, I was a news anchor for a little bit, and it was 2017. And I'm from Philly, and I know people who know Coach Rule, so I was big Matt Rule guy. And you guys went to West Virginia on that Thursday night, and it got ugly fast, dude.
Oh yeah, that one that was a real wet blanket game.
What is that like when you playing in that environment, going in there under the cover of night into to say the very least a hostile place like that?
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre because it's one of those places that, like, you always hear that it's like, it can get pretty crazy, and like it's and the team, at least when we've been playing, has never been like, in the upper echelon of dominance. So it's always the game that everyone talks about, like, don't let this team trap you, things like that, right? It's always a hard fought game. When we played them, they played this screwed up 3-3 stack defense that I absolutely hated playing against. And we went in there. The two games we played at West Virginia that I played, one was a very close game we lost at the end, and one was an absolute blowout where we threw like 3 picks in the first quarter and it was over. But it was it's just kind of different. You have to go stay out in the middle of nowhere, sleep with your clothes on because you feel like the place has bed bugs and stuff. It's just like a not a great hotel, long drive in, kind of pretty countryside, and then you get to campus and it's just like, students are everywhere yelling at you, flipping the bird. You see couches ready just in case, they're gonna if they're gonna burn them. The whole town is bought in. I actually discovered that I have like some second or third cousins in West Virginia that I had no idea about. And they reached out to me through social media and they're like, hey, we're related through this line. So we hope you lose by 100 points, but we hope you do well, kind of deal. And it's just a unique experience. And, both games I played, they're night games, pretty rocking. It's loud. It's not the loudest, but it's very hostile. I remember when we were there for that Thursday night game, I think Chip Gaines is there, and there was a clog up of getting out of the tunnel because every single West Virginia cheerleader and powered and dancer and all those girls wanted to get their picture with Chip Gaines. And then so it's like, oh, okay, sure. And then 10 minutes later, when we were running out of the field, is straight back to middle fingers and F Baylor, and they got players on their teams trying to get into it with coaches' kids, and everyone is on the menu when you're there, and anyone and everything will be attacked, and you've really got to just kind of lock in, focus on yourself, because the first time you let it get to you and get too emotional, it's just playing into their hands,
When you're, and forget about like the X's and O's or the play breakdown for this game coming up, but as a player going into an environment like that where it's going to be loud, it's going to be unruly, how can your team, the best way to take the crowd out of the game early?
To run the ball and score first. I mean, if you get like a good 10-play drive, run the ball, punch it in, and then get a stop on defense, it's like because that is just, it's good fundamental football. It may not be exciting, but it'll really flip the crowd on you, Now, I think that, Thursday night game we went down there, I don't remember exactly, but we had at least 3 picks in like the first half, right? And it was there was no getting the momentum back. The crowd was rolling, the whole town's boozing. It was gone, right? That's one of those, you go in at halftime and you just get the just gotta act like it's 0-0 speech, because what else do you say when you lose every statistical category in the first quarter and you're down by 30 points, And so if you just take the air out of the football, I think it takes the air out of the stands at the same time. People start getting a little cold, and there's not much to yell for. Nothing, and I know Baylor fans are no stranger to this. Nothing sucks when you have an explosive offense and then you go 3 and out. And if you get 2 3 and outs stacked right in a row, your offense isn't doing anything. There's no excitement. Your defense is on the field forever. It's I've seen it happen in multiple stadiums, and I just think that's the best way to. Plus, it's easier, in a loud environment. It's easier to communicate with the guys. You're not trying to trade off games and twists. It's like, let's just put the ball in the A gap. Let's get 3 to 4 yards, and let's get a little bit of a rhythm.
How much time do you dedicate ramping up during the week when you're going to go play a team like West Virginia in Morgantown to snap count? Whether you're going with a quiet snap or a clap of the hands.
So it's something that gets worked like the entire week. It gets worked the entire season, right? Because you're not gonna stray too far from your standard operating procedure midway through the season. But there's going to be little twists. They'll usually the first 2 padded practices of the week, they're blasting instead of whatever music. There's certain team periods where they're just blasting like the, West Virginia band fight song thing like that. There's always going to be, usually if you have like 2 or 3 kind of flavors on how you're going to do the snap count, how you're going to do silent, things like that. You'll do a lot of work in that. Maybe even try different guys if you're doing like the look and tap the center, or if you're doing the clap, things like that. You'll get as much practice with that as you possibly can. But it's pretty standard for most games. It's going to be loud, and the emphasis is going to be on being able to communicate non-verbally with each other.
You grew up in Houston, right?
Yep.
And so your dad played tackle at Texas.
Yep.
And so when you're born, is it just you're going to be an offensive lineman? Is that just how it works?
Yeah, pretty much. Dad was an O lineman. All his buddies were O linemen. Grew up around it. Never, I remember in middle school, I hit a growth spurt. I was like 6'2", and I wasn't that heavy. I was probably 200 pounds, 220, so I was definitely the biggest kid on the team. But I was also the fastest kid on the team because they only won over 5'5", And so I remember begging the coach to let me run the ball because this will be the only time in my life I ever get the opportunity to, because I know what the future is. But it was. I remember going. There would be a bunch of kids playing at the park, playing like 2-hand touch football, and my dad and I would go in the backyard, and we had these. We started off with like someone had thrown away a big heavy bag for boxing.
Yeah.
And we were using that as a tackling dummy, which wasn't great, hit it and it's like hitting a brick wall as a little kid. And then I think one time I was out there messing with it and it fell on me and got a black eye. I had picture day the next day and my mom was pissed. So then we got some real like blocking dummies, but I remember doing all kinds of stuff like that as a kid with my dad in the backyard. Then it's like you go play at recess and you're like, oh, I love football. And someone asks you to throw the ball and you throw it like a shot put, and everyone's like, yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. Your dad played football. You know what you're talking about.
Well, how about your career at Baylor? You end up going to Baylor. Obviously, a lot of stuff happens. Program gets turned upside down while you're there. How do you become someone who is a quiet leader for your teammates during a time of just turmoil, transition, and then ultimately you get to triumph as a senior? The fact that you guys were able to get to that bowl unto itself was a credit to leaders like you. How did you find it in yourself to stay and to lead?
Right. I think it's a very, offensive lineman mentality of me, but also just like the scenario. You're on a team that's very good and then, get all these accusations and people don't like you and lots of nasty things get said about you. Then new coach comes in and we're going to change the culture and, you guys aren't the problem, but also we got to change everything. And you just get to a point where it's like, all right, talk is cheap, right? There's a lot of guys that, are talking, but we're, we went 1-11 that first year, right? It's very much like, talking's a hell of a lot easier, especially to the media after a win, right? So how do we get things going in the right direction? And whenever you have some kind of big organizational change, the first guys that are over there talking to the new coach, talking to your new boss, you'll kind of tell at least half of them are guys that couldn't do things right under the old regime, right? They're not necessarily guys that have the trust of other guys on the team, but they're the first ones to go shake the new guy's hand and say, "Yeah, man, the way things were being done before, that was, that wasn't right. I'm your guy, coach. Trying to get some playing time, trying to get trying to progress themselves." And it's like, sure, uh, go ahead and hustle. If you hustled a little bit before now, so you'd have some playing tape, you'd have some film. And so, that stuff takes some time to work out, and it did. But it just gets to the point where it's like everyone is talking about what we're going to do, and it's like the only way to really accomplish anything is to just consistently show up every day and work for it. You have clear, defined goals, and then you're working to achieve those goals. You're going to have to make some adjustments here or there, coaching. There's all kinds of factors and things that you have to develop as a team and as a leader and as a person. But the recipe for success in basically anything is simple. Get a direction, build good habits, and just show up every day, be consistent. And it was you can once you get rolling, you can really find some joy in it. And it was looking back on like the struggle and the grind, those are the best stories to talk about. We talk about the struggle stories way more than the fun stories because of where it ended up, right? We ended up kind of building a culture that wound up with winning championships and things like that. And it was a lot of fun.
Did you take great pride in that trip to the Texas Bowl in 2018? I mean, just seeing everything that had gone on. The fact that Baylor became bowl eligible, like I said, was something very special. Then you go to the bowl
Right.
and you win it. And then you see really the program set up next year. They go to the Big 12 title game and they go to the Sugar Bowl. You were at the eye of that storm.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fun at the end of that season because we were, even the 1-11 year, like we were struggling to find an identity, right? We were just fighting. Sometimes it looked god awful. Sometimes it was like, we might be a pretty good 1-11 team, but we're still 1-11. Next year, we're starting to figure it out, starting to get some wins. Almost all of our games are relatively close. And, you're able to point to 5 or 6 plays where if we do this, then we probably win the game, right? And we're getting to the second half of the last quarter of the season, and it's going to be on the fence whether we get bowl eligible, things like that. And we still are kind of trying to find that identity as an offense, right? And to me, I've played in some really successful RPO style offenses, and it just frustrates the hell out of me whenever defense tries to pigeonhole you on those reads and your quarterback winds up being the leading rusher on the team, right? It might work for a game or two, but anytime your quarterback's getting 18, 20 carries a game, I just don't think you're set up for long-term success. And we were having trouble running the ball on anything except Charlie Brewer keeps. So like we sat down, we went to Pat Lawrence and I went to Coach Rule, and then we sat down with George Dalio and Sean Bell, the O-line staff, and we were like, what if we just run, like these 4 run plays just make them work,
Like the Green Bay Packers, basically, with Vince Lombardi.
Basically that's what we wound up doing the last game of the regular season, Texas Tech. This is like the one, if we get it, if we win, we'll be bowl eligible. If they lose, or if they win, they'll be bowl eligible. And all week at practice, we just ran, it was last game of the season. It was a full week of, very hard practices, full pads the whole week. And we just ran, it was like running inside run almost every single period, something that almost everyone hates, but we just ran any look they could throw. We're like, we're going to be able to run these 4 plays, right? And it worked. And then we win the game, get Cliff fired, send him a note, hope he picks us up in free agency the next year and when he's the coach of the Cardinals. Then we go play Vanderbilt, and it's the same thing. And that Vanderbilt game was awesome because it was on offense. It was just like couldn't do anything wrong, right? We were scoring almost every time we touched the ball, ran the ball for well over 200 yards. Great game, right? And it just felt like those last 2 games were like the bit of the culture that we finally kind of cemented it. And then the next year, the team is rolling. Now they're winning. They're winning the games they're supposed to win. They're winning the close games. They're winning gritty. It was quite a bit of fun.
All right, last one for you. I got to ask you about the food. I got to ask you about the beef because it sounds pretty damn interesting. So what's this called, Stevie? The meat? Like let's get this going here.
Right. So I'll give you the breakdown. So in this my story all kind of goes back to the 1-11 year, right? Because you play a football game, it's like, I'd like to go have a couple beers after the game, but when you're 1-11, it's pretty hard to go to the couple bars that Waco has and show your face after getting your ass kicked. So what I wound up doing is I'd go before the game or something, I'd go to HEB, pick something up, and then if we lost, I'd basically go home, fire up the smoker, throw something on there. A couple of the guys would come over. We'd have some beers, and then we'd, eat something whenever it was done. And if it was something bigger like a brisket, I'd wrap it up and take it into film that Sunday morning, and we'd eat barbecue and watch film, give it to the coaches, whatever, right? And it just became a fun way to take my mind off football. Well, fast forward to now I'm done playing. And of course, Baylor's rolling. This is when we go to the Big 12 championship with Rule, and then this all kind of blends into the Aranda transition and the Aranda Big 12 championship as well. There's some, I think we beat UT, and there's some like UT fan forum where this guy came up with this conspiracy theory on why Baylor was so good, and it was the fact that there's a Baylor mafia that is connecting all these big churches around the state and around the country and using them to funnel athletes to Baylor. Not 4 and 5 star athletes, guys that are underrated athletes, funneling them to Baylor through church. And, so Baylor Twitter, Baylor media had a bit of fun with it. And someone kind of came up with an alternate theory of, hey, well, there needs to be a Meat Mafia because at this time I was running a tailgate, and I was just kind of cooking every week. More and more people were coming, and I was just cooking whatever I could to make it fun. And so people came with a joke that I must be running the Meat Mafia because I've always got the best meat or something like that, right? And the team kept doing better and better, and we wound up at the Big 12 championship game, and I brought my pit, and I think I only cooked like 6 or 7 briskets, which is probably good for 70 people, and like 250 people showed up to the tailgate. So I felt like Jesus trying to parcel out all my brisket to make sure everyone got some,
like the loaves and the fishes. It
exactly.
Just
but,
yeah.
It kind of took off a little bit, and now it's a fun anecdotal joke that still gets thrown around.
Blake Blackmar, you are the godfather, dude. The godfather of the Meat Mafia.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with me today. And
one more thing I did forget to bring up about West Virginia. I don't know if they still do it. I'll have to look it up. They have a fan website that does these player lookalikes. That used to be our tradition on the night before in the hotel. We'd go look up, and they would just go down the roster, put your picture, and then put a picture of someone you look like in the media making fun of you, roasting the hell out of you. And I remember as a freshman, everyone loved it because they basically they put my picture up there, and it was, wasn't a good hair day for me when they took that picture. And my lookalike was that fat sorry guy from Game of Thrones, Sam Tully, or the dude that's just a total sorry soft ass with Jon Snow. I think his name is Sam Tully. And I
think that's it.
that I don't know if they still do it or not, but those are worth a read. Those are worth a read. They do a pretty good job on those.
Did you guys watch them like amongst yourselves, or did the coaches put it up there to like lighten it up? Like
no, that was all internal in the group text. I don't know if the coaches never acknowledged it, but we were night before the game. We're going through there and roasting everybody.
Blake, man, thank you so much, dude. I'd love to do it again with you sometime.
Yeah, no problem. I haven't been able to watch as much football as normal this year. My wife and I just had a baby. But,
congratulations! Yes,
thank
you
you.
told me.
I'm definitely all in on it, and next year should be back running tailgates bigger and better than ever.
We need the Mafia here in Waco, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, good talking to you.
All right, Blake.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to. The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Sports.
Hey, let's bring Scotty up real quick. Scotty, hell of a job there. I mean, Scotty, look at him. Look at him. There he is.
He's too humble to bring himself up. There we go.
No, seriously, that was awesome. Blake was awesome. And that was great.
Well, I'm fortunate that Blake and I share a love for barbecue. That's kind of both of our obsessive hobby. And so we were fast friends, and yeah, Blake's great. So.
Tell me, you guys, because Cam, you knew right away about the Meat Mafia.
Yes.
That is such a Orange Bloods type deal. Please.
Classic.
That's so funny, man. I remember when that post came up.
So Blake did a great job of describing it. So the way I understood it is churches around the country, right? That shared the same beliefs.
No. Not even Texas around the churches around the country. So I worked for a Texas Baptist church when all this was coming out. So it was extra funny to me. It was specifically, there is a group of churches in Texas that are in the Baptist General Convention of Texas.
And we're a Baptist. Baylor is a Baptist school.
Well, and specifically, Baylor is a school affiliated with the Baptist General Convention of Texas, which is different than Southern Baptist, which most people are more aware of. So this guy was so specific that it was the Baptist General Convention of Texas that was doing this. And I know all of these pastors around the state.
And there were big money people among these.
No, not really. That's part of why it was
just
so
influence.
Funny is honestly the BDCT has so much less money than like the Southern Baptist or some of these other bigger groups. And so we were having
So the theory really sucked.
Oh, it was hysterically funny and goofy. Yeah.
And so they were but
and like what's funny too is it was like, but they didn't have this last year when they were 2-7. Like now it has come around.
Yeah.
This is the issue.
They put together.
And 5 years ago when they won one game, it wasn't there yet. But
yeah.
all the youth pastors.
They grew up.
So funny.
So that's what it was. Youth pastors were,
dude. So yeah, it was like, well,
which was targeting
Baylor's using all of these churches and specifically these youth pastors to influence and get to the high schoolers and get the, like Blake said, it was funny because it's by no means the 4 or 5 star guys, but these sneaky 3 stars like that Baylor always seems to get. Like how does that happen?
It's funny because I have experience with the Orange Bloods. Like just there was a guy I know who was just like always on Orange Bloods. Oh, and he could. It was just one of those nut jobs. Him and his buddies. So I don't want to say anything negative about him because you just
might find out where you live.
Yeah, that's not. You want to talk about a mafia? You want to stay away. You want to stay away from those guys. All right, Cam Stewart. While we got you on the heels of that, I want to get your thoughts going into Friday about this Baylor game, and has it changed at all throughout the week on where you are? Because I spoke during the open before we got to Blake. I do feel like things might be trending towards West Virginia.
Yeah, and the big reason why is Garrett Green, right?
Yeah,
who you say is going to start. That is a Pete Sousa guarantee. That Garrett, wait,
slow down on guarantee. Don't do that. Dude.
Sources
don't do that.
Sources say.
Yeah, I have a very good feeling.
Okay, all right. Well, I picked earlier this week for Garrett Green to start. So,
okay.
What bugs me about this game is that decision doesn't do much for me in terms of changing the outcome, because it should. Garrett Green is a good quarterback. He's not what he was last year. He doesn't hit on explosive plays like he did last year, and he's got 9 touchdowns to 8 picks this year. But Baylor does not force turnovers at all. They faced the team last time out with the worst turnover differential in the Big 12, a team coming in at -11 in the turnover differential in TCU, and they didn't force one. So it's like, it's one thing to be a bend but don't break defense that's got some ball hawks out there, and it's quite another to be a bend but don't break defense that doesn't have that, and then you become a break defense, which Baylor has not been stellar defensively in this winning streak. And finally, for the first time since that bye week, since this winning streak started, they will face a team that's actually stout against the run. And Baylor does not need to run all over these guys the way they did the last couple of games, or the way they had the opportunity to the last couple of games. But they need to run it enough that they can balance this offense out. You saw at the end of that losing streak, before going on the winning streak, where there were games where Sawyer Robertson was throwing 45, 50 times, and he's a real good quarterback, but you run out of gas at the end of the game when you're doing that, when you have to drop back and throw every time. So yeah. I'm interested to see if Baylor can balance it out, but I just really wish they had some guys on this defense that could freaking turn them over.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a huge advantage against TCU, which game they won anyway, and would be a massive advantage in this game because these two teams are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I'm like very much on the edge of my seat to just see. This is why you love football. I cannot wait.
No one loves the Big 12 more than you, Pete. Like every week, you're telling Corey like game of the week's Big 12.
All right, let me explain something.
Which is fine, man.
Let me explain something, dude. Can I tell you? Do you want to know what it is?
What?
It's loyalty. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean.
Yeah. You could have said competitiveness, but
no. It starts with loyalty.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm not going to give you the whole deal, but the story of my mini ascension into broadcasting play-by-play.
Ascension. Yeah.
It goes all the way back to Baylor, and then from Baylor to the Big 12. And I was gifted the opportunity to have a front seat, especially to the best basketball conference in America. The year it was the best basketball conference in America. Yep. Even and it's to the point where ESPN is trying to split up play-by-play guys now and not guys like me, like guys like Fran Fraschilla and Jimmy Dykes, because every night you watch ESPN on every Saturday, and at 4:30 it's Fran Fraschilla telling you Big 12 is the best conference in the country, and at 7:00 it's Jimmy Dykes saying the SEC is the best conference in the country, and then at 9:00 it's Jay Billis saying, I don't know, I can't tell you about how good this Duke Carolina rivalry is. And it's like we got to get these people moving around a little bit. You know, so
Yeah.
that's the idea. But I
can take more Fran than Jimmy Dykes.
I have not moved around anywhere. Yeah, what was your issue with Jimmy Dykes the other night? I thought he did a terrific job.
Of course you did. So they like opened the broadcast like before
Him
the
and John
ball was
Schriffen,
tipped
who
off.
by the way is smooth.
What's it, Schifrin? I couldn't remember
John
his name.
Schriffen.
Yeah, Schriffen.
So smooth. Yeah. Very, very good.
Like they're opening the broadcast. Teams are still in the huddle. And Jimmy Dykes is like, yeah, well, Baylor's pretty overrated coming in as a top 10 team. They got blown out by Gonzaga. And it's like, okay. I mean,
I love the home.
fine. Like they did get blown up by Gonzaga. I can't deny that.
Yeah.
It's a little odd to hear the ESPN broadcast just call them overrated to begin with, but okay. And then he like doubles down on it in the second half and he starts to use the word overvalued, which really just means overrated, but it's a way for him to say that without saying, hey, I'm an ESPN broadcaster saying this top 10 team is overrated. And he starts saying why they're overvalued, and it's because, you know, they've got 4 new starters on the team. And I'm looking across, I'm like, they're playing Arkansas, correct? Like they're playing a team that did not finish in the rankings last year, that is in the top 20, that has 5 new starters, a completely new roster, and a completely new coaching staff. And like not a peep about Arkansas, not even saying like,
well, he is an Arkansas
this
guy.
Arkansas team is talented, but we don't really know anything. And I'm like, oh, well, this is interesting. Where did Jimmy Dykes play college basketball? And where was the only place Jimmy Dykes was a head coach in college basketball? All I'm saying is the only place is Arkansas. That's all. And it's like that. It's just very odd. I guess not unprofessional, but feels kind of unprofessional to just, you know, continually say that this team is overrated as they do not trail in the entire game against your beloved Arkansas Razorbacks. Yeah, it was a little odd. That's all. Pete Sousa would never.
No, I was like, well, I'm not an analyst. You know, I got to just hit it right down.
And maybe, by the way, I'll throw Jimmy a bone here. He's watching live.
Who is?
Jimmy Dykes.
Well, actually, Christy is, and she says I'm too loyal to Baylor and the Big 12. So go ahead.
Well, this is from a Big 12 defector, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, she left. That's right. She left the Big 12.
And now the Big 12 sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, to go to North Texas. And her squad left the Big 12. Exactly.
Yes,
nice job, Cam.
yes, because they didn't want the 11 a.m. games anymore. Ooh, when you keep losing in the SEC,
11 a.m. looks pretty good, doesn't it?
But to throw something to Jimmy Dykes, the broadcasters, I think, should be allowed to say that if they believe it, but nobody does it. You know what I mean? Like it's still not an accepted form.
What do you mean?
Like if you think that team's overrated, go ahead. Like,
Yeah.
go all in. Don't give me the overvalued crap. Don't give me the reason of they've got all these new starters when I can literally point to the next huddle over and give you a team that brings even less back and doesn't bring the same coach back. You know?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do it, but have some reasons for me. Ones that I can't just immediately just crumble after, you know, looking at the team they're playing.
Well, overall, by the way, this was on a rewatch. You heard this because you were at the game.
Yes.
What was there any was there an Arkansas contingent at that game? Or
Yeah.
going backwards? I don't know why, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
now.
no, big time.
There was.
Yeah, probably more Arkansas than Baylor, but not by that much. It was a good, you know, college basketball game, NBA arena kind of crowd.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yesterday,
they were calling those hogs, brother. Woo!
yeah. 2 more things as we come up against it.
Sorry.
Yesterday, you did a live remote with Matt Mosley.
Yes.
I got to ask you because it's not so often we get Mosley in person. I actually wanted to see Mosley in person. I literally couldn't fit it in. I wanted to go over there. I'm sure life went on for.
I don't like hearing about the Pete Sousa plight here. Yeah. Oh, you didn't have time to do something? I don't know.
I didn't have enough time, dude. I didn't. Yeah, that's right. That's Cam's. Sorry, Cam. I'm on your corner. Let me get off.
I don't like using that excuse, and I bet you don't either.
No, I don't. But I literally, you can't be 2 places at once.
Yes.
So
I know. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I'm just saying we both don't like using that excuse, but sometimes you got to use that excuse.
Yeah. No, and it sucked. But I was on the show the day before, so that's why I was like, and Mosley's not missing me. So what was he like though in person? Any moments? Like I remember my favorite. No, look, just because I really am fascinated by guy. My favorite was when he ordered a drink. Like a soda.
Yeah.
When we were there, but he never got it.
That's a great news.
And rather than tell the bartender, hey, I haven't gotten my drink, he likes to tell us.
Well, he said it to me like 3 times, and then you showed up, and he also mentioned it to you a few times. Yeah.
What was the
got a
number?
drink, I guess.
Do it again. Sorry.
Busy back there. Ordered a drink a while ago, but I'm sure it's hopping in here. One of those.
Hey, is Mosley Baptist?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Because he
good
loves talking about the Baptists. So any other notes from the in-person Mosley show?
No, it was pretty standard. It was pretty run of the mill. Mosley did not like some terminology that I used.
What you
said
use?
We should drop it, treat it like an expletive, even though it wasn't an expletive. We were talking about Bob Costas.
Oh,
and
damn, I did miss my show.
Yeah, right up your alley. This was on the air. We're talking about Bob Costas, and we talked about that time where Costas was talking about that Cubs relief pitcher who was coming off the mound.
It was
and,
wild.
was
Speaking of
so
Christy, she sent me that a couple
and
weeks
you know what it
ago.
was in
I had
relation
never
to?
seen it, dude. I'd never seen
Really?
it. No.
We were talking about that because it came up because we were talking about Marcus Hayes and his run-in with Marcus Hayes. So it comes back to Pete a little bit here. But anyway, we're talking about Costas and him and Howard Cosell and how they just nobody loves those guys more than those guys.
No.
Right. And so I said about Bob Costas, I said, if Costas is in his car and he breaks wind, he rolls up the windows. And Mosley's like, I don't think we need to use that. I think we can drop that, treat that like an expletive, Aaron.
Really?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was like, that was great. That was off the cuff.
I like that. That's really
didn't
good.
need to do shit don't stink because you can't say that on the radio.
Hey, what about Cosell? What'd you guys say about
That's
him?
such. By the way, that's such something my dad would come up with too. That it felt almost eerie. He came up with one of the great lines that I still use all the time about one of our neighbors who was very nice but very dumb, and he would say, "If she was any dumber, you'd have to water her twice a day." And it's just an all-time line. Anyway, what were you saying?
That's great,
about
like New
Howard
Englander
Cosell?
type deal. Too.
Oh, it's such good shit. It's biting, is what it is.
Anything about Cosell you guys said yesterday? I'm kind of
No, it was just I think I was just saying like Howard Cosell was the same way. Like no one loved Howard Cosell more than Howard Cosell, and the epitome of that is the announcement of John Lennon dying on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And I think it was it Don Meredith with him or was it Frank Gifford?
It was both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were like, one of them was like on the air too, was like, Howard, we got to say it. We've got this news. We've got to say it.
Yeah.
And Cosell goes into it and he's like, John Lennon shot outside the Dakota, or he would say New York City, and rushed to the hospital dead on arrival.
It was pretty good.
And it's like, okay, Howard, you can just tell us that John Lennon has been shot. You know what I mean? Like he makes it this event, dead on arrival.
So he was pissed during the Olympics that he felt like he should have been in the chair.
Costas?
No,
Cosell.
Cosell.
Okay. Oh, in 72.
In 72, when they had the kidnapping of the Israeli wrestling team, who eventually got killed.
Yeah.
And they all died.
9 at the airport.
And he always felt, now it wasn't Chris Schenkel, it wasn't Kirk Gowdy. I forget. God.
Jim McKay, wasn't it?
It's Jim McKay, who was, yep. So Jim McKay.
They're all gone now.
They're all gone now. And he used to say, like, he was so pissed at Jim McKay. He resented him so much for that. Cosell did. Yeah, and he resented ABC, and he would say, there he is, the insignificant one that was there at the right time.
And Jim McKay was also, like, big time in the Olympics. Maybe he had not gotten there yet, but, like, he was pretty big time.
He was A1, dude.
You know?
But a legendary drunk, Howard Cosell, to the point where, like, Al Michaels in his book was like, I was so sick of, Howard doing his prep at the hotel bar. And then he had an assistant who would just fill vodka for him. It was like a nightmare. Like
obviously what he said that kind of got him fired was wrong. Like, that would get you fired today. But it almost felt like, okay, finally we got something.
Yeah.
Like it's Al Capone or something. Like we got something to, like, I'm sure the act was tired. And you mentioned Al Michaels. There's plenty of stories of people who worked with him just being done.
Yeah.
Just being done with all that. And then he says, yeah, what he says, which is just not good.
No.
Not great.
Not good. Not good.
Al Campanis, really. But
not good in 2024. Not good in 1984.
Yeah.
Not good.
Which, I mean, that was a different threshold back then.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's not good.
Pete Sousa Show. Cam is headed to American Airlines Arena to cheer on his Bruins.
Woo! Bees, baby.
You're going by yourself, right?
No, I'm going with my friend.
Okay. I would go by myself. That's why. Are you going with Abby Stokes?
Visitor Arena. No. I
Abby
would
Stokes.
go with Abby, but not Abby. But she's not going to this.
Abby Stokes is
She's got women's basketball tonight.
Yeah, Abby Stokes is the best. All right, that's it. The Cam Show tomorrow at 11. Pete Sousa Show at 1. Scotty Swingler, legendary as always. Thank you to Slovacics, Crawford Austin Properties, D1, the whole deal. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. I'm happy to have you today.
Nah, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics, are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did.
So,
deserved it, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general management of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft room?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
We are Rogue Media Sports.